Wow, we've just been treated to an amazing weekend in MotoGP. The Portuguese Grand Prix has given us so much to talk about in all three classes. So let's start by talking about the MotoGP sprint on Saturday, and it was a really great sprint race. I was this close to making a full video on that because there was a lot to talk about. What we noticed over the course of this weekend is that Portimao is a track that very much encourages aggressive overtaking. Most of the overtaking opportunities are heavy braking zones, so you have to be aggressive to pull off the move. We saw a lot of that throughout this weekend. The sprint race saw Maverick Vinales come home victorious after Pecco Bagnaia made a big mistake while leading. He went wide with 3 laps left and lost about 3 seconds and dropped from first to 4th, and that's where he finished. Vinales did excellently to hold off some intense press from Jorge Martin in the final laps, and he barely put a foot wrong all race, which is very impressive considering he's been ill all weekend. This makes Vinales the first rider in MotoGP history to win with 3 different manufacturers, them being Suzuki, Yamaha and now Aprilia. Behind Vinales we had Marquez in second and Jorge Martin in third. Marquez's second was especially impressive after he started 8th following a crash in qualifying. Marc managed to use all his aggression to fight his way up to second, and at one point he was behind Bagnaia chasing him down. But then, oh for fuck's sake. Right, if you notice the lighting's different, it's because the lights in my room have turned off and I can't do anything about it, so we're filming like this for now. And Marquez was even chasing down Bagnaia at one point until a mistake left him 4th behind Martin. Then when Bagnaia made his mistake he was in 3rd, and on the last lap Marquez was right behind Martin and he made a very aggressive and late lunge at turn 5 in order to pass him and claim 2nd place. Some people may say the overtake was over aggressive, I just think it was great racing and Martin did kinda leave the door open. The move was always going to be made from Marquez. Another important moment in the sprint race was Brad Binder crashing out of 7th place. He was 2nd in the championship going into the sprint race, and he crashed in qualifying as well. 2 crashes in one day is rare for Binder. But the racing in this one was thrilling. There were so many people pulling off aggressive overtakes, and especially at the front as well. The sprint result left a lot of anticipation and excitement for Sunday's race, and Sunday's race did not disappoint. We'll talk about that now. Sunday's race left a lot to talk about. The race was won by Jorge Martin, who got a good start, led into turn 1 and then led every lap from there. He was dominant, and the result leaves him leading the championship. Behind him for most of the race was Maverick Vinales, winner of the sprint, and he managed to steal in a second of Martin for the whole race. This was until the last lap when Vinales suffered from a gearbox failure on the start-finish straight, and as a result of it he crashed at turn 1. This promoted Enea Bastianini up to 2nd, who was the pole sitter, and he rode a decent race. It's especially important for Bastianini to get a good result here because he's fighting Martin for that red Ducati seat next year. However, it was the man in 3rd who made all the headlines, Pedro Acosta. He rode a fantastic race, overtaking Jack Miller, Brad Binder, Marc Marquez and then Pecco Bagnaia all in fantastic fashion. There were so many times where he looked like he'd crash while making an overtake and he just didn't, he's such an instinctive rider. And then when Maverick Vinales crashed out at the end, Acosta was promoted up to 3rd, to become the 3rd youngest rider to ever score a podium in MotoGP history. He's going to go right to the top in the future. The other main talking point from this race was Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez. After they were both overtaken by Acosta, they were running 5th and 6th with 3 laps left. Then Marquez threw a dive down the inside of turn 5, fairly similar to what he pulled off on Martin in the sprint. But as we know, Bagnaia is insane on the brakes, and if you outbrake him, you're going to run wide. That's exactly what Marquez did. So Bagnaia tried to do the classic switch back to re-overtake him, but in doing so he was far too aggressive and him and Marquez collided, both went down. Bagnaia retired, Marquez picked up the bike, finishes 16th, 0 points. It was an incident which sparked a lot of debate, but the general consensus was it was a racing incident, caused by both riders being over-aggressive. Right, I've got my lights to work again, I don't have to be blinded by my screen anymore. The crash between Marquez and Bagnaia was big for the championship. Bagnaia was leading the championship going into the race, but now he's only 4th, behind Martin, Binder and Bastianini. Speaking of Binder, the chaos in front of him left him to finish 4th with Miller in 5th. Solid results for KTM, especially Binder after he crashed in the sprint, and he remained 2nd in the championship. Finally, we will talk about Yamaha, who made a good step forward this weekend. Both their riders made it into Q2 and Quartararo managed to finish 7th in the main race, and picked up a point in the sprint race. It's a good improvement from them and hopefully we'll see more of it in the future, and they are a lot better than Honda, who were awful this weekend, especially in qualifying. All 4 Honda bikes filled up the bottom 4 spaces on the grid. Joan Mir was once again their best finisher in only 12th, now is only really due to the retirements ahead. And I think it says a lot when Marini managed to finish behind Marquez, who literally crashed. I think Marc made the right decision by leaving Honda. We'll move on to Moto2 now, and there's a lot to go over in this as well. Once again we are treated to a very exciting race. The race was won by Aron Canet, who finally, after 20 podiums and 15 second places, won his first Moto2 race. It's clear that he learnt a lot from Qatar when he had a horseshit start, burnt his tyres out in getting to the front and then finishing 10th. This time he slowly worked his way to the front, saving his tyres, and managed to take advantage of the downfalls of those ahead, to in the end winning quite comfortably. Now that he finally has his first win, I expect him to kick on and get some more wins and challenge for the championship, now that the pressure of him getting his first victory is finally gone. However, it didn't always look like he was going to win. Alonso Lopez, who won in Qatar, was leading for a good portion of the race, until he crashed out at turn 13, giving the lead to Canet, and Alonso Lopez finished 25th in the end. It was a big blow for Lopez, who would have had a comfortable lead in the championship had he not binned it. However, the main talking point of this race was Fermin Aldeguer. It was announced this week that he'd be racing for the Pramac team in MotoGP next year, so the pressure was on for him to impress Ducati and show them why they signed him for next year. So what does he do? He jumps the start and gets hit with a double long lap penalty. Disaster. The penalty dropped him from 2nd all the way down to 13th, but Aldeguer did brilliantly to carve his way through the field, and he got himself into the top 5 fairly quickly. And the race ended with a battle between him, Ayagura and Manuel Gonzalez for 3rd, but by that point Aldeguer had burnt his tyres trying to get to the front, so he ended up claiming 4th after Ayagura made a mistake. But still, to get 4th in those circumstances is a good recovery from Aldeguer, and he definitely displayed why Ducati signed him. So it was Manuel Gonzalez who won that battle for 3rd place, and he picked up his 2nd podium in the class. He's becoming a very consistent competitor at the front, and he could get his first win very soon. Ayagura ended up in 5th after a mistake on the last lap, but it was great to see him fighting at the front. He was the runner-up in this class in 2022, but 2023 was a write-off for him. He was hampered by an injury for pretty much the whole year, but he switched teams and now it looks like he's back to his best, and I think he's destined for MotoGP soon. He's a really great rider. And shout out to Joe Roberts, who managed to finish 2nd in this one. I'm not really too sure how. He seemed to just spawn in 2nd when Lopez crashed, and he just stayed there, and it's a great result for him. This race has left the championship in Moto2 wide open. The top 7 riders are separated by only 8 points, with Canet leading ahead of Roberts and Gonzalez. It'll be very interesting to see how this championship develops as the season goes on. The final person we'll talk about in this race is Jake Dixon. He withdrew from this one after suffering from the injuries that he sustained in Qatar. And it's a shame for him, and it's probably killed off any hopes of winning the title. Hopefully he's back for USA though. Finally, we'll talk about Moto3, and as usual, this was a great race. We had a group of 6 battling at the front, consisting of the fastest 4 from Qatar, plus Colin Via and Joel Kelso, with Kelso looking very fast all weekend. This group had a ding-dong battle always, and it was great fun. We had Jose Antonio Rueda leading for most of the first half of the race. Then David Alonso got to the front and tried to break away, but this failed. And then he dropped down, giving the lead to Holgado. And in the end it was Daniel Holgado who came out victorious, holding off immense pressure from Rueda on the last lap, to take his first win since Mugello last year. It was a perfectly executed race from Holgado's point of view. Rueda came home to take his best ever Moto3 finish in 2nd, and he showed that he'll be fighting at the front a lot this season. It's a good points haul for him after he scored 0 points in Qatar. Ortola came home to finish 3rd, a good result for him, and Alonso 4th, which I think he'll be disappointed with, considering he was leading for a while. He definitely had the pace to win, but he just burnt out his tyres trying to break away at the front, and then he dropped down a bit, and he did well to hold on to 4th in the end, ahead of Kelso and then Via. This race leaves Holgado in the lead of the championship ahead of David Alonso, and then there's quite a big gap behind to Ortola, Via and then Rueda. But the championship changes so much in Moto3, and this will undoubtedly change it after USA. So that's everything that happened during a thrilling Portuguese Grand Prix, with so many twists and championships and surprise results, and now I'm really looking forward to USA. COTA always delivers a great race, especially in Moto3. Unfortunately, it's a 3-week break until that race, after the Argentinian Grand Prix was cancelled. Which means to entertain ourselves, we might have to watch Formula 1. Sorry, I get an allergic reaction from that. But despite the 3-week break, there'll still be plenty of videos on this channel, so get subscribed if you want to see more of this, and hit the like button while you're there. But with that, I hope you enjoyed and I will see you soon. Bye bye.